Hey everybody, it's me Alex from RoyalZSoftware. This is my first video on this channel. Before I start with the actual content, I want to tell you what this channel is about. RoyalZSoftware is a company that I founded back in 2020. The main idea is to first provide value by creating applications to customers. So if you're interested, drop a DM. And the other pillar is to educate other software developers to write especially clean code, get into the concept of test-driven development, and provide more quality code. And you can expect on this channel content just about that. Content about test-driven development, content about clean code, solutions to common problems. This video is about why you shouldn't use console.log in your either Angular components or React components, and what you should do instead. You can see on the screen I have created an example in both stacks, in both tech stacks. On the left you can see the Angular version. You have the users component, which has a template, which doesn't really matter in our case, but you have the constructor, which is calling a console.log. And here on the React example, you have the console.log within the use effect, which is similar to the constructor or the onInit of Angular. We want to get rid of the console.log. I will tell you why. Console.log is shipped to production. And in most cases, when you aren't optimizing it away in the production, and in most cases, if you aren't optimizing it away by using some Babel plugins, for example, then you are left with console.log statements in the production environment. Or you have to delete them, which is more common. And that shouldn't really be a solution to any problem, because log statements are useful and they help debugging. Just deleting them doesn't really make sense to me at all. That's why in this video I will tell you how to actually accomplish something that you can swap out the logger in production environment and in the development environment. Let's get started. So I have created these both classes, these both examples, and I've created the logger.ts. We can use this as a library for both of them, which is quite cool. The first thing that I would do is to create an interface, because the actual implementation, like .console.log, should be abstracted away so that you can swap it out very easily. And I will restrict myself to just the basic things that I would actually use in production, which is, or in development as well, which is the debug statement. Then we have the info statement, we have the warning, and the error. All of them get params of type any, and all of them have the return type void. Okay. Before doing anything else, I would go and create the console logger, which implements the logger. And then we can do something like that, I think. QA console dot. Didn't quite work. Test this again. Yeah, some boom magic. It doesn't always work, but when it works, it's quite cool. Like this. Like that. And then, yep. And we have our params, which should work. Yeah, fuck. Yeah, just do it like that. Info, warn, and we have the error. Cool. So we're just abstracting this away. This might not seem like a huge success. Let's just create something interesting. Let's just create a function which creates us the logger. It creates the logger depending on the environment. Or is production. Okay, let's say environment. environment, which is either production or it is development. And in both cases, currently we are returning a new console logger. Just everything is perfect. We don't even need to make this, we don't even need to export this console logger because we are just using the logger interface. So this can remain completely private. And therefore nobody will depend on this concrete type, and we have the full control over what we're doing here without introducing breaking changes. Cool. And if you aren't familiar with the Angular dependency injection system, I will give you a rough introduction here. To actually use the logger interface as an injectable type, I will create an injection token. Oops. The logger PI token, like this, which is a new injection token, and then you specify an identifier, which is in my case just logger, of type logger. And then you can just provide it here, when you specify the DI token with classes. Classes by default implement the injection token, and the value, which is here logger, is the name of the class. Like if you have a class logger, you can just provide it like this. But since we're using an interface and interfaces don't properly implement the constructor.name thing, we need to do it via this way. And we use class, or we use factory, and then we return make logger with our, let's say we are in production. Angular is something like is dev environment and something, but let's implement this. Okay, the more I think about it, let's just make this more simple because we aren't realistically doing more about it. It's just is dev mode, which is a boolean. Yes, and we can just use is dev mode from our Angular thing here. Okay, cool. Since we don't really have any dependencies, can we? No, it's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. Cool. So now we can do something like this here. Inject the logger, private logger, of type logger. And the case, this is case sensitive everywhere. But now we can do something like this, logger.debug, component loaded. And we don't have to think, oops, yeah, sure, that doesn't make any sense. Because we want to conveniently use this. And therefore we use the object deconstruction. Okay, cool. Now we can get off the console log, and if we are now getting back to the make logger thing, we have the is dev mode flag. If we don't want our logs to appear in production, then we can do something like create the new no operation logger, which implements the logger and just does nothing with it. And now we just say is dev mode. If it is, then new console logger, and otherwise use the no operation logger. Cool thing. I really like that, because now we just have to modify one place, which can even be part of our library, in this case the logger library or the logger module. And if we want to go a step further, we can introduce something like the remote logger, which also implements the logger. We don't have to do this by now, we don't have to decide it now. It's just an option, and we don't have to edit thousands of places. Yeah, that's it. And if we do the same thing for React, we can make this even easier. I think we can just use something like function use logger, and maybe we have a context or something, but let's just say production is equal to false, and we return make logger, and then we just use this method. And now logger.info debug was, yeah, it was debug component loaded. Very nice. And this should behave exactly like the other one. And if I were to change the make logger implementation, or one might argue that the make logger factory method does not belong into the library code, which in fact I think quite reasonable argument. If it gets more complex or we have certain custom logic, we need to export these and implement the make logger somewhere else. Wouldn't be that bad. Okay, but that's it for the video. If you like this episode or if you have some feedback, just let me know in the comments. Here you can find the latest video, the most recent uploaded video. I'm planning to post videos weekly. And subscribe if you liked it. Have a great day. Bye.